This is 1.1 Notes, Anatomy Overview. The essential question is, what is the relationship between anatomy and physiology, and what are the major organs and functions of the 11 human body systems? Anatomy is the study of structure and shape of the body. This is where we learn the names of organs or different body parts, where they're located, and what shape they have, what they look like. It is the what and where of the body. The word anatomy means to cut up or to cut open. That is why the major activity or the lab that we do in anatomy is dissection. Here is a cross-section of the human head. You can see a clear view of the entire brain and the brainstem, and learning the different portions of the brain and individual sections, name of the different little parts that make up the brain. That is all part of anatomy. Physiology, on the other hand, is a study of how the body or individual organs work or function. If the anatomy is what and where of the body, the physiology is how it works, how the body works. And the reason why we study anatomy and physiology together is that anatomy, what it looks like and what shape it has and what it's made up of, will determine what type of function it will have. When you think about bone, for example, you can describe bone as being rigid, hard, and it is a solid material. One of the major functions of the skeleton or the bone is, in certain areas of body, it protects the internal organs. So it would not make sense for bone to be soft because it would not be able to do its job. In order to understand the entire organism like the human body, you need to understand what little portions or structures that make up the individual, the entire organism, how they're organized. So remember that all things, whether it's living or non-living, are made up of atoms, which are the tiniest building blocks of everything. From there, we get into more larger and more complex structures that make up those littler or simpler forms. Now, those atoms that make up bigger a structure called molecules, and then macromolecules, and then remember in biology learned about organelles. Then we get to the cell. Cell now is the smallest basic unit that a living thing is made up of. So the difference between an atom and a cell is that all things, the smallest building block of all things is an atom, but the smallest building block of living things is a cell. Then a group of similar cells is called a tissue. So a lot of times the name of the cell and the name of the tissue will be the same. Like we have skin cells and then we have skin tissue. We have muscle cells and we have muscle tissue. Now an organ is made up of various different types of tissue, and they're brought together to have a specific function. So an organ is a structure that performs a specific function in a system. Then group of various organs come together to create something called an organ system. And the organ system is designed to carry out a more common purpose, to carry out a bigger major function. And then various different types of organ system then make up an organism like a human being. So individual level, the organism is the most complex and it is the highest level of organization, and it is composed of, in the human, 11 organ systems. So on the next even page, so if your 1.1 notes was assigned on page 14, then on page 16 you're going to title it Organ System Chart. If I assign your 1.1 notes for page 16, then page 18 you're going to label it Organ Systems Chart. And then you're going to create 3 columns. One column on the left is going to be the organ system. Then the second column is going to be organs in system, and then the third column is going to be the functions column. You'll want to make the functions the biggest column and organs in system slightly smaller, and the smallest column should be the organ systems, the first column. Then you're going to create 12 rows. The first row is going to consist of the heading, and then you're going to have 11 systems, so altogether you should have 12 rows. The first system is done for you. Notice how the first one is the integumentary system. So as you go through the different slides, you're going to complete the chart as it goes along. So the first one is integumentary system. Then the organs that belong in this system is skin, hair, and nail. And then the function of the integumentary system is a body covering. It protects the underlying layers, and then it also makes vitamin D. So integumentary system has already been covered. It's the external body covering. Their job is to protect the underlying tissue layer from injury, and they make vitamin D. The organs that belong in the system will be in the picture. Skin is one of them. The other two are hair and nail. And also there are various, but those are the major organs that belong to the integumentary system. Next is the skeletal system. Their job is to protect and support the body organs, and they provide muscle attachment for movement. They also are a site of blood cell formation, and they store minerals such as calcium and phosphorus. Organs that belong in the skeletal systems are cartilage, joint, and bones. The muscular system is involved in body movement and posture. They also are involved in movement of material inside the body, and they generate body heat. Major organs of the muscular system is the skeletal muscle, the cardiac muscle, which is inside the heart, and smooth muscle, which surround internal organs so that they help in movement of material inside the body. Nervous system is called the fast-acting control system because its reaction time is very, very small. So the time it takes for a brain to think of an idea or a command for that information to reach its target organ to carry out some kind of a action, it takes a split second. This system is called a control system because they regulate all the other system pretty much, and they do it through an electrochemical signal, and it's kind of like how electricity travels through wires. Organs that belong in the nervous system, you have the brain, you have sensory receptors, you have spinal cord, and you have various nerves within the nervous system. Endocrine system is also a control system, but it is a slow-acting control system because their job is to have glands or organs that produce hormone, and they have to travel through blood. So it takes a little bit longer than the nervous system. That's why it's called a slow-acting. There are various different organs throughout the body, and they specifically produce hormones that target certain organs. So we have the pineal gland, we have the pituitary gland, we have the thyroid gland, the parathyroid gland, and we have the thymus gland, the adrenal gland, the pancreas, the testes singular, testes are plural, and the ovaries. There's the cardiovascular system. Their job is to transport material through blood, such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, and hormones travel through the blood. And the major organs are the heart and the blood vessels. Lymphatic system kind of goes with the immune system, and their job is to transport material, but unlike cardiovascular system, they transport a fluid called lymph, and their major job is to return blood, that is fluid lost from blood vessels, back into the blood vessels. and they also help in the immune function to help fight off infection. Major organs of the lymphatic system is the thoracic duct, the lymph nodes, and the various lymphatic vessels. Respiratory system, their job is for exchange of gases. Specifically, the gases we're talking about is oxygen and carbon dioxide. The major organs of the respiratory system is the nasal cavity, the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea, the bronchus, and the lungs. The digestive system, their job is to break down and absorb nutrients and to eliminate the solid, indigestible material in the form of feces. The organs that belong to the digestive system is the oral cavity, the esophagus, the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, the rectum, and the anus. The urinary or the excretory system, their job is to filter blood and clean it and then collect any of the waste material from the blood and collect it in the form of urine. They do that in order to get rid of toxic nitrogenous waste and the liquid waste, and then they eliminate it from the body. The organs that belong to the urinary or the excretory system is the kidneys, the ureter, the urinary bladder, and the urethra. The reproductive system, obviously there is two different reproductive systems. There is the male reproductive system, which is different from the female reproductive system, but the major function of both is to production of offspring. The organs of the male reproductive system, you have the seminal vesicle, the penis, the prostate gland, the vas deferens, the testes, and the scrotum. In the female reproductive system, you have the mammary glands, the uterine tube, the ovary, the uterus, and the vagina. On a half sheet of paper, write homework 1.1. Make sure you put your name, date, and period on that paper on the top right corner and answer the following question. Make sure you write the question first and then answer it. Number 1 is name 3 organs and identify which system they belong to. Number 2, name 3 other organs and describe how each organ's anatomy determines its physiology. You will turn this homework into class at the beginning of class tomorrow.